this is The Process Shot. I'm Michael. I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and I'm ashamed to say I've seen Snuff, the infamous horror thriller from 1976, directed by Michael and Roberta Findlay, and somewhat by Simon Nuchtern. Set in South America, it follows a thinly veiled analog of the Charles Manson cult, with a leader named Satan and his all-female group of followers who don't really do all that much besides sex, drugs, and a lot of talking. Meanwhile, an actress and her producer come to the country to shoot a film, I think, but that never actually happens because it becomes more of a story about her and some other guy seeing each other, eventually to the point that she gets pregnant. If you're familiar with Manson, you know what comes next, though in the case of this movie, it takes until the last minute for anything like that to actually happen. Then a final scene supposedly shows a member of the actual film crew being mutilated and murdered on camera. It's clearly fake, but that didn't stop the marketing team. Needless to say, this movie is trashy from start to finish. The plotting swaps between the faux Manson storyline, which is barely a story in itself and is more just a bunch of random scenes made for the sake of sensationalism, and the story of the actress, which is less random over time, but is far from sensationalized and is therefore more boring. The two groups only cross over once or twice, and anything worth getting from their time together, or even apart, is hindered by completely flat deliveries, stilted and unrealistic dialogue, and unlikable or detestable personalities, all of which just makes me wish the movie would cut to the inevitable deaths of those involved. There really is nothing in the story itself worth discussing at length, since the brief moments of character development we get are ignored almost as soon as they're introduced. Either because incorporating them would have taken up too much time, or these scenes were written late in production to fill up some runtime. Everything left over is just plain exploitation fare, and not even in an entertaining way seen in similar movies that I've reviewed. It's almost no wonder that the final scene, which was clearly shot separately from the rest of the movie, was tacked on at the end because it was probably the only way distributors could think to get anybody to want to see it all. It would honestly be the most interesting part of the movie in how it breaks the fourth wall, if it weren't for the fact that after 10 seconds or so the illusion shatters and you remember you're stuck watching a crappy movie. Talking about the technical aspects of Snuff would probably be redundant because they're as poorly cobbled together as the rest of the story. There's a pretty clear case of shooting with whatever was available to the filmmakers, which works when scenes are set in an actual house. But when it comes to the cult scenes, they are quite literally wasting their time at junkyards or other abandoned places. Somehow they did take the time to try their hand at creative shots in these more freeing locations, but while it adds variety, that's the best that it can do. Editing is obviously used in a practical manner, because being creative about it would have cost too much money, I'm sure. There are blood effects, since this wouldn't exactly be a horror movie without them, but they're hardly anywhere near impressive. It's more of a feat that they managed to make them work without actually hurting anybody. Overall, I have nothing nice to say about this movie. It's got a place in history, I suppose, but more for the story surrounding it than any actual mark of quality or even any unintended genius. It's a great example of marketing hype putting something in the eyes of audiences, and that's it. The rest is stupid. Snuff. Michael Findlay, Roberta Findlay, Simon Nuchtern, 1976. Half a star. I don't recommend this movie at all, unless you really want to see a piece of film history that doesn't deserve that spot. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you have something to add, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. I gotta go take a nap or something to get this out of my head now.